other than quarterback, what are some of the biggest questions that the Browns have to answer? And they might not be able to answer quarterback this year, to be frank about it, but what do they have to answer other than quarterback in your mind?
We talked about the offensive line earlier. That's a big sticking point for me because if they can play elite football, that opens it up for the running backs. And then you see the symbiotic relationship between run and pass and Stefanski's scheme and how you can marry them and make them both look the same. That's a huge part, and that a lot of that onus falls on the offensive line. But this team also needs playmakers. This is a team, and had we not had the sample size from Jameis Winston, we wouldn't even know what Jerry Judy could be. Just the way things were going last year. Luckily, we got that and we've seen what Judy can be. Now they need to add to that. And if this is truly going back into Stefanski's wide zone base here, you have two tight ends, I believe, that can do a ton of damage with David Njoku and Harold Fannin. How much of a game plan is Fannin going to be for the Browns? Are they going to move him around? Are they going to be creative with their play calls? Is it going to open up a whole new section of the playbook that we really haven't seen because we haven't had a tight end too that had his receiving abilities? So there's a lot on the table there with the playmakers. They could lean into tight end heavier this year while they find out what they have in Tillman and Thrash and is Deontay Johnson, is he going to return to what he was in Pittsburgh? Yes, it feels like a long shot, but if that happens, all of a sudden you feel better about the unit. But they have to figure out who their playmakers are and lean on them heavily.
Yeah, I think they got to get an answer on if DeJuan Jones can be a starting tackle in this league, because that's a high draft pick. If he cannot, you got to use probably one of those first round picks on somebody who can be a really good tackle. Who are you most anxious to see in pads training camp? We're only a couple weeks away from training camp now.
Yep. For me, it's the guys up the middle. For me, it is Mason Graham and Carson Schlesinger. And anybody who was in my orbit knew how high I was on Schlesinger, even though I thought there was less than a negative percent chance the Browns would take him at 33. The fact that they did, obviously they knew more of the JOK situation kind of coming down the pike than we did, but Schlesinger is, and when you see someone who only burst on the college scene for 1 year, and then you find out they were a walk on, you might start to think, well, that's just maybe they're a try hard. It's more than that. He is an elite level athlete. Things started to finally click. They got him on the field. He is a tackle machine. He's not a block deconstructor. He still has to evade to make plays, but I am not going to be surprised at all if Schlesinger leads this team in tackles and it leads the league within the next 5 years. That's the kind of player that I believe he is, and I think Mason Graham is going to be special. Also, a player when the Browns had the number 2 overall pick, I didn't think Graham was going to be on their radar. I figured they were going to go skill or quarterback, but I acknowledged even then when I didn't think they would take him, this might be the player with the quickest path to being an All-Pro. And I feel very highly that he's going to change the way pressure happens in the middle with him and Michael Hall. And it's going to change the outlook of opposing offenses just based on a defensive line that can get after it like that. And that rookie's going to have a lot to do with it.